1. Good afternoon. Today is Tuesday, November the 7th. This is the Public Health and Safety Committee. We do have a quorum with myself, council members Benton, Bradford, Huffman, Nash, Prepty, Sepulveda, and Weiner. Did I miss anybody? I think I'm good. We have a packed house. We've got a lot of folks on the who are going to be recognized today. So we're going to go ahead and get into the agenda real quick and see if we can go through that, and then we'll recognize some folks. We also have 2 elections today for appointments to the Metro Action Commission as well as the Metro Nashville Safety Advisory Board. I had Hannah Zeitlin sent out an email to everybody with a description of both of those opportunities, and so if you didn't see your email, you have an opportunity to quickly go through and scan while we are going through the agenda. We do not have anybody signed up for public comment, and so we're going to move on through. And these are the items. I do have a consent agenda, and so I will read the item numbers, and then if there's something that you'd like to pull off, we will do that. So on consent, I have item number 2, item number 3, item number, see, I put my page here, number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10 and 11. Does anybody have any of those that they would prefer to pull off? Yes, sir.
So I just want to make a comment with regard to one, as to information that I received from MNPD yesterday. Would I need to remove that from consent to be able to provide that comment on the record? Or could I just make it into the record now?
Let's go ahead and pull it off, and that way you can have a separate section about it. Which one is it?
11.
11, okay. Okay, any other ones? Yes, sir.
4 and 6.
4 and 6. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, we'll go ahead and start with the consent agenda. First up is item number 2, RS 2023-65, Porterfield, Evans, Bradford, and Stiles. Approves amendments 1 and 2 to a detection and mitigation of COVID-19 in confinement facilities grant from the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Davidson County Sheriff's Office to enhance and improve the practices of confinement facilities to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 and reduce the risk of virus transmission and exposure to environmental health hazards. Item number 3, RS 2023-66, Porterfield, Evans, and others, accepts a grant from the U.S. Department of Justice to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Davidson County General Sessions Court for the Cherished Hearts Healing Enslaved and Repressed Trafficking Survivors court expansion to serve justice-involved victims of human trafficking and those at risk of sexual exploitation in the Nashville-Davidson County area. Then we have item number 5, RS 2023-69, Bradford and Evans, approves an intergovernmental agreement between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, the Electric Power Board of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, and the Williamson County Joint Communications Network Authority to grant access to each other's networks to improve emergency response services. Item number 7, RS 2023-74, Toombs, Evans, and Prepty accepts an emergency performance grant, EMPG, from the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Office of Emergency Management to subsidize the emergency management program. Item number 8, RS 2023-75, Porterfield, Evans, and others, approves Amendment 2 to the Opioid Overdose Reduction Program, OORP, grant from the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Justice Programs to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health to address prescription drug and opioid misuse, save lives, and reduce crime through a comprehensive and collaborative approach. Item number 9, RS 2023-82, Porterfield, Evans, Allen, and others, accepts a grant from the Tennessee Office of Criminal Justice Programs to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Office of Family Safety to plan and implement a conference hosting Tennessee professionals who work or partner with the Family Justice Center and to increase the capacity and skill of statewide teams through instructive sharing, networking, and collaboration. Item number 10, RS 2023-83, Porterfield, Evans, and others, accepts a grant from the Tennessee Department of Children's Services to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Office of Family Safety to support the provision of services to families who have experienced domestic violence and child abuse and neglect. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Oh, thank you for letting me know. Okay, so now we're going to move on to, let's go back and pick up item number 1. And this is RS 2023-64, Porterfield, Evans, Coopin, and others, accepts a grant from the U.S. Department of Justice for an Enhancing Community Safety and Empowerment Grant to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Mayor's Office of Community Safety to implement programs aimed at mitigating community violence and enhancing community safety in Nashville. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? We do have the Office of Community Safety here, if anybody has any questions. All right, seeing as there's no discussion, I'll renew my motion, or can somebody renew their motion for
I'll renew
approval?
the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. All right, well, let's go ahead then and pick up item number 4, thank you. RS 2023-67, Porterfield, Evans, Welsh, and Gadd approves Amendment 1 to a community-based treatment services for offenders grant from the Tennessee Department of Correction to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the state trial courts to divert eligible offenders from the Tennessee prison system by providing community supervision and treatment services. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Yes. I just had a question, trying to kind of sift through and discern where we draw the line as who qualifies. And it says to divert felony offenders from Tennessee prison system. So who would qualify for this and who would not qualify?
All right.
Someone answer that question.
Do we have anybody who can answer that question?
Yeah, so it's all, community corrections is all statutory, so that defines who can be in the program, and then if they qualify, then the DA and the court system would send them to it. All this is a contract that we have through 2025. All this amendment changes is that they've loosened the policy to allow us to send people who aren't in overnight rehabilitation centers to be under supervision as well, which is how community corrections used to be until about, I think, a year or two ago when there was a change in the policy.
Now, would you mind saying who you are? And
Sure,
where you
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm Bart Pickett. I'm the trial court administrator for the state trial courts.
Okay, thank you. Does that answer your question? Come on, Councilmember. Okay, Councilmember.
Yeah, I can provide a little bit more context on sort of what exactly community corrections is. So within Tennessee's structure or scheme for sentencing, there's sort of levels of supervision that a felony offender can be on. So there's our standard supervised probation, which is supervised through the Tennessee Department of Corrections. There's also what is called community corrections. The difference between community corrections and supervised probation is that while you are on community corrections, you're getting what is essentially called street time. So your sentence is running during the time that you were on community corrections. So if you have a sentence of 7 years, you've done 3 years of community corrections properly, but then you're violated and your sentence is put into effect. You then only have an additional 4 years to serve. Now, the standards for supervision on community corrections are a lot more stringent than those who are on supervised probation. And one of the things that community corrections allows people to do is participate in this program that's colloquially called DC4 or Drug Court 4, that's run out of Division 4 in criminal court here in Davidson County. And that program is a pretty intensive, it can range anywhere from 2 to 3 years of a residential treatment program. And it's a really great way of deferring people whenever the underlying cause of their offense has been some kind of substance addiction, and so it just allows people to be able to get that kind of treatment that they have, and so yeah, that's sort of what.
Thank you for that additional information. Director Darby, do you want to critique council members?
Absolutely not.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you. All right. Moving on to item number 6. RS 2023-70, Porterfield Evans and others approves Amendment 1, appropriates additional grant funds from the Tennessee Housing Development Agency to the Metropolitan Government acting by and through the Metropolitan Action Commission for low-income home energy assistance program, LIHEAP, services to assist families with energy. Oh, I'm sorry, we already did this one on consent. Oh, no, we didn't. Okay, thank you. Services to assist families with energy costs. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Open for discussion.
That's
Do
me.
you have that? Okay.
So I noticed there was like a pretty strong percent increase in this, and I was curious as to what happened. I think it was like a 77% increase in the dollars that were infused in, and I didn't know if that was because that many more people are in need, or if maybe we've added additional things, maybe some cable television. I don't know. So somebody help me understand what the difference in the money is, since it was so drastic.
Sure. Does anybody want to speak?
Yes.
Mr. Cox, right?
Marvin Cox, Metropolitan Action Commission. I'm the Family and Community Services Director. Yes, sir, we got a federal increase. These are federal dollars through the Department of Health and Human Services. And Congress added more dollars for the low-income home energy assistance program. Generally, we get about $5 million for that program, where we offer one-time assistance to Davidson County residents on their energy or their gas bill. So we did get additional money for that, so we'll be able to serve more people through this particular program, which we're excited about. So it's the increase from Congress through the president's budget that gives us substantial dollars where we can assist more families in Davidson County.
So that was more income, not necessarily us spending.
No, it's more for us to spend. We went from $5 million, our budget's usually $5 million, so it'll go up to $9 million, so we can assist more families.
We're receiving more from the federal government.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We can send it back, but
No.
I'm sure you don't want that.
About any other questions?
No, I would like to say that,
Oh, sure.
thank you for the 77% increase.
Yes.
Councilmember Nash.
Just for the new council members, I certainly have had lots of constituents in my district that have taken advantage of that program, and I'm sure others have too. Keep up
Yes,
the
and
work.
if you have people in your district where we can do outreach, please let us know. We do want to make sure, especially our seniors. Those are the ones that are on fixed income, but those will be the first ones to say, help somebody that really need it, not knowing that they could actually benefit from it. It is one-time assistance, but we do want to make sure that they're taken care of.
Councilmember Brown.
Is there anywhere on your website, or can you send something to the chair to disseminate to the body that we can, many of us have newsletters, social media, where we can help push that out?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Lisa McCready-Beverly is our Director of Communication, so I'll make sure that I take that note back to her to make sure we get it to Council Chair about the information. Yes, sir.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And
Councilmember.
last thing that I'll say, I actually met with the director of MAC this past week, and as far as MAC's budget goes, the majority of the dollars that MAC receives is actually pass-through funding from the federal government that actually directly goes towards MAC, or is provided to the state, which then is then provided to MAC as an agency, and MAC is designated as our local county agency that is required by federal law to be in place.
Community Action Agency, because of community services block grant dollars that we receive. Pleasure to see you last week, sir.
Yes, most definitely.
Any other questions, discussion? All right, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? All right, we move approval. All right. I got my pages mixed up.
Number 6.
Thank you. That's the problem with me doing front and back to save paper. All right. Okay, let's go to number 11. RS 2023-84, Porterfield and Evans approves a contract between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville, Davidson County, and AB SciEx LLC to provide toxicology unit instrumentation equipment, service, and maintenance. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes.
Councilmember Proti.
Yes, I just wanted to note, so I'm not speaking against this, I'm in favor of this, going to be voting in favor of it. I just wanted to raise some information for the committee that I reached out to Chief Gilder and received. So part of my concern around this was examining what exactly this equipment was going to be used for. So it's going to be going directly towards MMPD's toxicology unit or their crime lab, which runs all of this data. And so part of what I was concerned about was with MMPD practices sort of falling out of line with state requirements as it is in regard to investigations for DUIs. So under Tennessee Code annotated 5010 406 and 408, whenever MMPD is conducting a blood draw, it's required that a list of medical practitioners are the ones conducting that, and that goes towards sort of the admissibility of that tox screen. And so what my concern was just not creating an atmosphere where patrol officers or those within the DUI enforcement unit were the ones who were conducting those blood draws, because then those blood draws would then be inadmissible to use against the folks who they're being charged. But in speaking with Chief Gilder, he gave me assurances, and I'll read out a bit of the information that he gave to me. He said, quote, "We've run an accredited crime lab since 2015, which greatly reduces the turnaround time that other agencies experience when waiting for the results of TBI-run labs. The equipment will replace existing toxicology instruments that reached end of life in 2019 and is no longer supported." So all these practices will conform with best practices and be in line with both state statutory and constitutional requirements. So just wanted to give that bit of information in case anybody had similar questions, or if I'm just being a nerd, that's cool too.
Nerds are welcome here.
Yeah, but yes, so those conclude my comments.
Thank you for that. And any other discussion or questions? Councilmember Nash.
I think this may be confirmed by Captain. I've been gone from the police department for 12 years, but I assure you, I or anybody I worked with never drew blood.
Yes.
We left that to the docs.
I'm sure I'd want to have my blood drawn by Councilmember Nash. I'm not sure. That's your heart. But anyway, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. Okay, let's go to bills on second reading. We have BL 2023-70. I see Councilmember Coopin in the hall. It is amend section 13-08-040 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws related to the offering of merchandise for sale on or near public property. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Do you recognize the sponsor to start the discussion?
So, hi.
Hello.
I have a question. It was deferred in committee yesterday.
Okay.
But can it still be heard by this committee and voted upon, or does it automatically defer out of this committee as well?
I mean, we can still hear.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you want to go ahead and
Yeah,
share.
that'd be great. And the deferral was, so the bill is specifically intended to target downtown Nashville, has people that are inviting people to place pythons around their neck and then charging a gratuity or a fee for that experience fairly aggressively. And so this helps MNPD restrict that activity. A question came up in committee yesterday about the use of the word services in the amendments. There's a section about animal, and there's a section that adds the word services. We have amended it for the future to take out the word services. There was some concern about what that opened up. But other than that, I think it's good to go.
All right, any other discussion, Councilmember Huffman?
Yeah, really quick. Proud to co-sponsor this with Councilmember Coopin. I had a constituent that had said python placed on them without their consent. Obviously, that caused some concern. I encourage everyone to support this.
All right, any other discussion? Councilmember Sepulveda?
What is considered near public property?
What is considered?
Near, like, how is it measured?
Is that the specific wording of it?
Yes.
That would be a better question directed to council legal, I think.
Yeah, and so the words, or near public property, it's a holdover in the title from what's currently in the code right now. The language that is being changed only affects the activities occurring on public property.
And
Or in the right of way.
And what's the activity is only the python?
Right, so from my understanding, after the amendment took out the future amendment, which will take out services, the only language that was changed speaks to the display of animals for payment or gratuity. Everything else is previously in the code.
All right.
For the parliamentary inquiry, if there's going to be a subsequent amendment, do we need to then subsequently consider that amended language in committee, or can we pass it out of committee today and have the legislation go forward?
We could take no action.
If the committee chooses to defer in conjunction with what the other committee did, then this matter would be referred back to, it would come back to this committee. If this committee approves it as is, then it would not, without a re-referral, then it would not come back to the committee, but it's up to the committee whether to.
Ask how long did they defer at one meeting?
One meeting.
Okay.
So it will automatically be deferred on the floor tonight.
I think Councilmember Radford, didn't you have your hand raised after?
I did, I think it was answered, but I'll go ahead and answer just to make sure. So, and this will probably be directed towards Ms. Darby. Now, we know downtown, there's a lot of performers who, stand in the streets and they take gratuities for that. This does not impact them at all. This just impacts people who are trying to use animals to.
This legislation, once the amendment is put on, will only affect the current state of the law with regard to gratuities for animal presentation or whatever they're doing with pythons.
Councilmember Weiner.
What I'm hearing is that there may still be some questions, so I am going to move a deferral for one meeting.
Second.
All right. Move to defer for one meeting. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. It's been deferred for one meeting. Thank you.
There's a joke in there somewhere about squeeze, but I can't think of it.
All
I
right.
was thinking that too.
Let's go to item number 13, BL 2023-71, Benedict Welsh, Porterfield and others, amend section 13-08-080 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws related to the placement and removal of license plate readers and related signage. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. We're going to start the discussion with recognizing Councilmember Benedict.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, committee members. So this bill says that any equipment from an LPR program, whether that's a pilot or a contract, cannot be mounted or placed in the public right-of-way, or cannot be mounted unless there is an effective contract in place or if there's a pilot in place. So what we learned as the result of the most recent pilot, which was an MNPD pilot, which many departments can use the pilot per the Section G of the LPR code. So Parks Police, for instance, might want to do a pilot with LPRs at some point in the future. What we learned from the most recent one was the pilot ended July 22nd. At the very last council meeting of the last term on August 15th, I had a dialogue in committee with Chief Gilder, and he said at the time that they had instructed the vendors to take the cameras down. Well, unfortunately, those did not come down until this bill was filed, and I'm grateful that MNPD worked with NDOT at the end of last month so that the cameras were taken down. So currently, there are no cameras up, which is great, but what we want to do, what I'd like to do as the result of this, well, it's great because they're not in use right now. So until such time that we're in a contract, what I'd like to do is make sure that we don't have cameras mounted since they're inoperable. So that's the point of the bill.
Right.
Just if something's not in use, because we're not in a contract or because we're not in a pilot, then it doesn't belong on the pole. That's what this bill does.
All right, any questions? Councilmember Huffman.
Just a quick question regarding the vendor for the pilot program for LPRs. Who was that? Does anybody
There
know
were
that?
3 vendors, as I understand it.
Yeah, there were a couple.
Are any of those under consideration for the new contract?
I believe so.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions, discussion?
I do have one.
Councilmember Weiner.
Are there any other, and this is probably for Attorney Darby, are there any other applications within Metro whereby we have a contract that ends and we're in a lull between RFP and awarding, and that would affect any other equipment that might be out there? Will this limit to just that, or could this be used as precedent to say, well, we don't want another piece of equipment being used or another contract service being offered if we're kind of in between?
This amendment affects subsection G to the surveillance technology section, which is related only to LPR. So this would only affect pilot programs and agreements that are placing LPRs in the public right-of-way. And then once those pilot agreements, those pilot programs or the agreements are terminated, it would require those LPR technology installations to be removed.
Great, thank you.
LPR.
All right. I see any other hands? Councilman Craig.
Point of clarification, has the signage been removed?
Yep, so the signage was removed and the cameras were removed as the result of that in all of the locations, as I understand it. NDOT's here to answer. I don't know, were all the signs for LPRs removed?
That's correct. All of them were removed. Matt Burris with NDOT. All of them were removed back in October, late October, when we were told by MMPD to remove them. We have been following MMPD's lead on putting up signs, taking down signs. It's their contract, it's their cameras, so we have been following them. So we're waiting on their call to take them down following the ending of the pilot. So when we received that call, we took them down.
All right, very good. Councilmember.
I've got two questions. Does Metro Procurement manage the RFPs with MMPD, or do you have your own team in-house that manages RFPs?
RFPs, remind me what that acronym.
Request for proposal.
I believe it's a cooperation between.
It's procurement.
And question number two, is there an RFP on the street now that we know of for LPRs?
They're in the procurement process.
Yes, I believe they're in the
Contracting process.
They're getting towards the final.
Okay, so RFP, so this is for the record, so the RFP is not open for proposals to be
I do
sent?
not believe so
Okay.
any longer. I believe they're working on contracting at this point, but Ms.
That's
Lane
my
would
understanding
do
as well.
Perfect. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. We move approval. All right, and then last on our list is BL 2023-73 from Coopin, provides for the designation of public property within specified areas of downtown Nashville as a temporary special event zone during the time period beginning at 9 o'clock p.m. on December 30th, 2023, and ending at 6 o'clock a.m. on January 1st, 2024, relative to the use of these areas in conjunction with the 2023 New Year's Eve celebration, related activities and events. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All right, we got a second. Any discussion? Councilmember Coopin,
Hopefully fairly straightforward
yes.
language.
All right.
I have a
Anybody
question for the
Councilmember
council
Weiner.
member. How many people are you planning to have at this party?
We're all invited. Noticed.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? All right, very good. Thank you. All right, so we are finished with our agenda. Now we're going to transition into some of our guest recognition. I do want to mention, last week we had a really good Safe Bar discussion with the Women's Caucus and with the Sexual Assault Center. I gave everybody one of these little cards. This is like their coaster where you can test your drink if you were out and about. So there's going to be a concerted effort with the beer board to share information about the Safe Bar program as they are out doing their inspections related to the beer permit renewals. Also, these are available through the Sexual Assault Center, so you'll hear a lot more about this program as we go forward. If you have bars that you have in your district, this is a great thing to go in, talk to them about potentially implementing in their location. So also wanted to mention the sets of folks that I have to recognize today. We're first starting with Judge Calloway and Clerk Linnell Matthews. Last Wednesday when we had the Safe Bar meeting, we had a conflict with the program that they were doing to reveal the schematic, the design schematic for the Juvenile Justice Empowerment Center. And then I offered to have them come in because I know there's a lot of us that wanted to hear more about what they were doing and recognize them. And then we'll have Diane Lance from the Family Safety Center for some recognition as well. So I'll turn it over to Judge Calloway to share and with Clerk Linnell Matthews.
Thank you, Councilmember Evans, and thank you all for giving us this opportunity. We did this. There are a lot of new council people, and we know that there's many of y'all who were here last year and heard a lot about our building and this state that we're in now while we're doing this, but I just want to catch everybody up first. The current building that we're in now, which is right across the river, right by the Titan Stadium, Nissan Stadium, was built in 1994. It was a nice building then. It was too small for what we needed at that point, and as we have grown over the years, it is tremendously too small for what we actually need. When it was first built, there was one elected judge, and then there were 3 magistrates. We are now at 1 judge and 9 magistrates. And so we literally have expanded that building. We've made courtrooms out of closets. We actually have 2 courtrooms that operate in the Metro Superintendent Center, which is the former East Precinct off of Richard G. Adams. So we're separated from each other and have court proceedings in different parts of our city. We have, over the years, squeezed out all of our partners that used to be in the building because we don't have space for them. So we squeezed them out, and we need to come back home, and we need to come back together. We need to be able to provide the best services that we can for all of our children and families in one spot. And so through all of that as well, we had, after the May 2010 floods, we had tremendous sewage issues with that building, which are still ongoing now. And so put all of that together, we have designed the Nashville Youth Campus for Empowerment. Nice. And we are looking forward to NICE. It is on the campus where the old Almena Shrine Center was. They finished the demolition of that center last week, and they're going to do some more ground stuff on it and get ready for us to break ground on that property. It is a 14-acre property. We will go from 92,000 square foot to about 270,000 square foot. In this facility, we'll have different buildings. We'll have enough courtrooms and a couple to grow in. We'll have a separate center, pretrial housing facility for our youth, so that that would help with a lot of the problems that we've had in the past. Now that they'll be on the campus, there'll be a connected administrative building, but the actual pods where the youth are going to be living will be separated from the building, and so that will cut down on some of the issues that we've had in the past with that. It will have a 24-hour assessment center, and that assessment center for the youth who are not detainable. So for those kids that are run away at nighttime and we cannot legally hold them in our pretrial housing facility, we'll have a place where we'll have counseling services 24 hours. We'll also have a respite center that if they cannot go home safely, they can stay there, and that will eliminate some of the need for children that end up going into the Department of Children's Services custody that don't need to go and end up in DCS office. We'll have a place for them and an opportunity to connect them with their families. We'll also have a separate building for our Safe Babies program, and so we'll have a place where we can do therapeutic visitation that is like at an actual house and not your McDonald's or your DCS office, but it'll be a nice, comfortable place that's designed like a house so they can actually see parents in action and see that they're actually doing the things that they're supposed to be doing. And it'll also have a safe exchange center, so for parents who cannot get along when they go to exchange their children. And we send them now to the police department, which is very traumatic for the youth that we serve. We'll have a safe exchange place so that we can do it there. So that was a lot of it. I think I can't remember what the breakdown was, but he's supposed to tell you where we are now in the process. I get excited when I talk about it, just a little.
And I'll do this really quickly. So we had the support of the past council. We were one of the top 3 capital priorities voted on by the last council, and we hope that we could continue to have that same support with this council. We decided with Metro General and the former administration that because we knew this project was going to be a multi-year project, we weren't going to ask for all of the capital funds in one lump sum. We were going to try to relieve some of the financial burden on Metro by spreading the capital spending out on this project. So we received the first lump sum of $30 million. That was granted December of 2021. and that allowed us to purchase the property and to also hire the architect and design firm, which is doing the design work now, DLR Group out of Florida. Their local contractor is Smith G Studios here in Nashville. And they are working on architect and design now. The second sum was granted in the capital spending plan. It was February or March of 2023. I can't remember the exact dates. Y'all remember? February or March of 2023, and that was a total of $92,000. That is actually going to allow us to be able to go directly from design phase into construction. So that money is there to help us be able to go right into construction of the new facility. However, we are working with Metro General Services. The total cost of the project is going to be close to $350 million, and so we're working with General Services on what the next capital spending ask will be for the completion of the project. We did reveal the design of the project, and you have some of the conceptual designs in front of you on this one-pager. You also have a schedule for the project, and so we do hope that we'll be able to break ground at some point first quarter of 2024 is our hope. It may get pushed out into May. Judge is aggressive. Metro General Services is very conservative on schedule. But we are looking at a mid-2026 completion of the project and moving into the new court. And so that was always the target date when we began looking at this project, when the council first started having discussions on funding the project. We're here to answer any questions that you might have in regards to the project. I do want to say in terms of the design, it was very community involved, and so we built a community steering committee that really helped to give us feedback and input to work with the architect and designers. We also had some community-wide design charrettes that the community was able to participate in and provide feedback, in addition to doing some online surveying to get feedback for the architects. And so this has been a community-driven project. Our staff have been very involved, our community partners, nonprofits that we collaborate with, and the like. But we'll entertain any questions you might have.
Who's got a question? Councilman Weiner.
How much do you see your staffing increasing in 2026? And, because obviously we're going to have to be mindful of that.
Yes, we definitely see a fairly significant increase in staff. We have started identifying some of the positions that we'll need in the future now so that we can start pulling people on board, help with the transition. But we will need more security staff because there's a lot more grounds to secure. We'll also need people to help run both the assessment center as well as the Safe Exchange Center as well. So for at least those three programs, we'll definitely need increase in staff.
So I have one more question, and it's about the Safe Exchange. So Safe Baby, Safe Exchange, historically, I believe, was also something that was done at the Exchange Club Family Center on Thompson Lane. Is that still in place?
It is not still in place. However, we have really good relations with Susan Galis with the Family Center now, and she is part of our steering committee, and we're talking with them about how we can possibly partner with them, maybe bringing that back into their mission changed a bit, and so they took away that portion of what they used to do. So literally, that's the problem. We don't have a Safe Exchange in Nashville at all, which is very unfortunate, and we have lots of, and Diane can agree with that, we have lots of parties that need it, and so, and that's one of the things in our community that we don't have, and we need to fill that gap.
Are there any opportunities, stopgap measures between now and 26, where we might be able to find an entity, police department, somebody, that can help facilitate that?
We have, that's an ask that we've been asking other agencies for a while to kind of fill that gap. There's not very many people who have jumped on board to do that. After the Family Center did it, there was another organization, what was it?
Family and Children's Services were open to doing it. I'm just not sure they had the staffing, and that could be a possibility to, as a temporary solution to, I don't mean to jump in.
Oh, no, you're fine.
But for Metro to help the Family and Children's Services accomplish that goal. in the meantime.
All right. How about other, Councilmember Gray?
So very exciting. Thank you for all your hard work and dedication. Obviously, Nashville's growing, and I'm sorry I couldn't be there for the reveal. Is there space for you to grow? Should you need more courtrooms, or is that going to have to be an add-on type scenario? I'm just curious.
So there is space for us to grow. There are currently in the design 13 separate courtrooms, and so we would have the additional 3 courtrooms to grow in if we need them. We have things that we can use them for them now. For instance, we have youth courts in a lot of our schools. 6 of our zone high school have youth courts. We're looking at using maybe one of them for a nighttime court activities for those who aren't in those schools to use them. We're also, when we have sometimes conflict in cases where we can't hear and we bring in an extra judge. Now, one of us has to not have court in order to bring in an extra judge, and so we'll have a separate room for that now as well. So we have use for them, but we do have room to grow as well. When they did the design and the study, part of their discussion was anticipating the growth in our community. So they did a very detailed kind of chart of what the population would look like for the next 30 years out, and to make sure that we were building for enough space for at least that time period.
Excellent. Glad to hear that. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Nash.
Kind of on the same line, I think we discussed this a little bit one of the times you were here before, but we're sitting in this historic courthouse that's been here for a long, long time. If you go over to the Howard School office building, they've been able to repurpose and save that and make it historic. Across the street, I remember when we built the brand new police department, sheriffs, and now it got leveled and we got new stuff. I remember when Judge Shukoff designed and built the juvenile court, and all of a sudden it's not enough. So I'm glad to hear that we're talking about sustainability, and I hope sometime we can call it the historic juvenile court campus. Make them last.
And I will say there are some, at least a little property right in front that when we initially started the conversations, we looked at seeing if we could buy that piece as well. The cost was a little prohibited at the time, and so we did not. But in the future, that may be some more property around that would be able to purchase at some point and add to it as well.
Any other questions for Judge Callaway or Clerk Linnell Matthews? All right. Thank you so much for being here and sharing this update for all of us. It's really cool to see, considering the capital spending plan conversations back then, and to see what it's potentially going to be looking like. I mean, it's a very intentional design, and I know that's very exciting for everybody that'll eventually be working there and being supported by your whole system. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right.
Speak to a juvenile court.
All right. I like the committee collaboration. So we're going to transition really quick over to Director Diane Lands from the Office of Family Safety to recognize her team and share a little update about why she is here. It's based off of a meeting I had last Friday with her and the group, and I thought it was important for her to be able to share some information in advance of our capital spending or budget request deadline.
Thank you, Councilmember Evans. It's the first time I come to this committee a lot, but I've never spoken at the beginning of a new term. So I'm Diane Lance, and Becky Bullard and LaToya Townsend here are the senior members of our team at the Office of Family Safety. And Zizu right here, our therapy dog, is all of our boss. So it really runs the whole everything in terms of making staff happy. So we're really excited to be able to speak today just a little bit about what OFS does and what a capital expense need we have. But before I do that, I want to jump off of what Judge Callaway said, that this juvenile center is of the utmost importance. And what's so interesting is she's talking about the space needs and growth, which is exactly what we're talking about. And we have a shelled out space, and we're ready for that growth need to take place. So you had just asked, is there going to be room to grow? Our building made room to grow, and now is the time for us. I like, Councilmember Nash, I'm part of the old guard around here, and I remember when that building opened, and when it opened, people were already moving into closets. So it was already undersized on the day they moved in. So I think this is a really exciting project. The safe exchange is certainly needed with our mission, as well as allowing us to have space in there to help the many dating violence cases that occur over there, and we don't have the space to do it now. So very excited about your project. So I just wanted to tout that. So the Office of Family Safety, if you don't know, our mission, we focus on interpersonal violence, which we define as domestic violence, sexual assault, human trafficking, elder, vulnerable adult abuse, and child abuse. And the model is to put those services under one roof with nonprofit and governmental partners so victims don't have to go all over the place to get the services they need. So we co-locate government and nonprofit partners in our building, and we have long tentacles of relationship with all of these partners, so the gaps in safety aren't there. Our ultimate goal is to increase victim safety and offender accountability. So I provided you all with a packet. This one that looks like the PowerPoint is what I'm going to be going through right now. Okay. Also in the packet is our annual report, which you'll get on your desk when you go into chambers to read at your leisure. So what we are asking for, our capital request, is for a third floor build out for a community and meeting space. We have 14,563 square feet on the third floor of our building that was designed for future growth needs. So the next page that looks like this are all of our community partners, and these aren't just loose community partners. These are the people that help us serve the victims that we work with. Half of these partners use our space at the Family Safety Center on Murfreesboro Pike. They use it individually to work with clients, and we use it collectively to accomplish our work. So when we want to make important safety changes in the area, in whatever area we're looking at, it could be something in 911, something with police, something in victim services, we have to do that as a multidisciplinary team. We call those MDTs. Because if you don't have everyone on board for a solution, you're going to come up with a bad solution that won't work or meet with a lot of resistance. So on this next page that shows a panel discussion, this is how we engage the community in the work with all of these teams that you see listed below. There's a child abuse team that operates out of our building, which reviews every single case of child abuse, including juvenile offenders. Every single one is reviewed in our building. We have a high-risk review team that reviews all the highest-risk cases of interpersonal violence in our county. How many does that come out to about a year?
Over 1,200 a year.
Yeah, so and high risk is determined by the lethality assessment that police use and danger assessments that we use and all of our nonprofit partners in this space use to assess a victim's risk. Those are evidence-based tools. We have an interpersonal violence summit that happens annually with 4 mini summits beforehand that set the agenda for the annual summit. We have a fatality review. We review every single domestic violence fatality in the county and do a deep dive into one case per year to look at how we can improve our response to domestic violence in a way that can be life-saving. We have a domestic violence task force. We will work towards big solutions, human trafficking task force, a sexual assault task force, and a child abuse task force. This work is what puts us on the map of really the example across the country on how to do this work. Becky and I train across the country on this model, and our problem is space. So an example of what these teams do, we have EMT, some folks with EMT. Because of this high-risk work that we do around strangulation, EMTs have changed how they handle strangulation cases completely, as well as some of our local hospitals have a whole new protocol because of how this team works. Sexual assault exams, the Safe Bar program came out of this committee from us working together jointly, which is something we're really excited about with the Sexual Assault Center. Also out of one of our committees is how it used to be not too long ago that if you were raped, you had to go to General Hospital for your sexual assault exam. You'd be sent from the hospital you came to all the way to General Hospital. Many victims wouldn't even make that transfer. They'd just go back home. So that solution came out of this committee. From our fatality review, we've changed what 911 tells officers and victims that what they tell victims that call in saying they've been abused. They were sending them to precincts, which were hard to get into after hours, and victims were languishing outside the grounds. So because of a fatality in that type of situation, we've been able to change how the response is, and now they know to come to our 24/7 facility. And the lethality assessment that police use and the danger assessment that we and our partners use, that all came out of this type of work. So this is just a few examples of the game-changing multidisciplinary team work that we do that helps victims increase their safety as well as put and keep us on the map as the standard for quality services to victims. The next page that looks like this just explains sort of the numbers of how many of these types of meetings that we have in our building. We do those elder and vulnerable abuse case reviews, high-risk case reviews for victims of interpersonal violence, and child abuse case reviews take place in our building. And then the number of people trained. Our office alone trains over 9,000 people per year on interpersonal violence and strangulation and high-risk cases and how to recognize it. We also have launched a accreditation program that teaches people how to be advocates and learn about trauma and to be responsive in that way. Again, not just Nashville, but across the state. You all had on your agenda today that a grant for us to do a statewide conference. This would be the third year that the state has selected us to do this best practice conference, which is a great honor, and we really enjoy doing it, as well as being the pilot program for the state to have our advocates that we will be hiring under this grant to respond to child abuse cases with DCS workers, because that is not their expertise. So it's really exciting what we have going on. So what our limitations are, I mean, there aren't limitations for us right now except our space. And that's why the third floor was built. So this next one that you see is our existing space. These are our two biggest meeting rooms. The picture on the left, I took about 2 hours before I came here. This is one of our meeting rooms, and it is overcrowded, and what you can't see is people waiting outside this room to get into the room when someone leaves. This team is the one that 2 to 3 times a week reviews every single child abuse case with their police partners, the DAs, and the Nashville Children's Alliance and the Department of Children's Services. Those are the people that sit in this room for that. The picture on the right is our largest meeting space. So the one on the left only holds about 12 people max. The one on the right, maximum number is 25. And so we have to limit the number of people that can attend our multidisciplinary team meetings because of space issues. And that's not what we want to do. We want as many people that want to be on board that are in this area to come together with us so we're all on the same page. The next page. We try to find alternatives to this space problem, but it is in Metro, the spaces are barely large enough. They are overbooked and very hard to get, and the parking is, I'm just going to put it bluntly, a nightmare. And if it's at the sheriff's office, you've got to pay for that parking. We've tried outside Metro, that is expensive, and the ones that don't cost anything are also overbooked. So the picture on the left shows the Sunny West Conference Room. This was taken 2 weeks ago at our summit, and the parking was horrible. We had to start 30 minutes late because people could not get parking. And then the sheriff's office, again, no parking, you have to pay for it. And then the Honey Alexander Center at the Family and Children's Services, it's a beautiful space. We'd love to have that space, but it's rarely available. So that's a problem across Metro, and I showed you who our partners were because it's not just us that needs those spaces, it is all of our partners. So supporting me in this ask right now is Chief Drake, Glenn Funk, our District Attorney General, Metro Social Services, Renee Pratt, April Calvin with our new Office of Homeless Services, and the National Children's Alliance Director, Sharon Roberson of the YWCA, and Rachel Freeman of the Sexual Assault Center. They all asked me to express to you as well, they have their own needs in this work for a space of that. It is a Metro-wide need. We can't offer it to necessarily all of Metro, but we have so many partners that share parts of our mission that would be allowed to use that. The next page are some other event spaces that we've used, the Horton Event Center. We used that for a national conference that came to Nashville. This was a space that was affordable to them. It was not big enough, and they are no longer using Nashville for their annual conference and have moved the conference elsewhere. And actually were frustrated enough that year they said they would not be coming back. So, which affects us as the standard. So suddenly, like, because of that, we are not being put in the limelight, not we, but we, Nashville, is not getting the recognition of being the national standard because they were unhappy with our conference venue. And then we do have a basement area in our building, and while it looks pretty big and great, there are pillars in there that make it really hard to have a meeting, and we received a ton of complaints from our partners the last time we tried to do our meeting in that space. So I'm putting that out there because we have tried really hard to use Metro space, community spaces, and any possible space in our building, and we just can't get it done. The next page shows you again, on the left, the meeting space that we have, and on the right, the type of meeting space we would like to use for our third floor. And this is an example of the Family Safety Center like ours in North County of San Diego. So the last time, 2 years ago, we asked for an estimate to try to use ARP funds for this. We made 2 asks. It wasn't put on for ARP fund usage. The estimate was around $4 million. We imagine the costs have gone up some since that. And again, all of the folks that have asked us for it, so we are respectfully asking you all to support this capital request. Tried to go fast.
Thank you very much. Anybody have any questions about what Director Lance is asking for? She will be back in December to share more about the mission of the Office of Family Safety. All right, well, I appreciate everybody considering that. And the very last thing on our agenda is we need to appoint 2 people. First of all, let's go with the Metro National Safety Advisory Board. I sent out a description of what that is, and do we have a nomination for?
I nominate Councilmember Nash.
All right, Councilmember Nash,
It's
do you
a tough
accept?
job.
Do you
I
accept the
accept,
nomination?
yes.
All right. All those in favor of Councilmember Nash?
We're not going to nominate anybody else?
Any other nominations? Okay.
Seeing none.
Seeing none, we're going to move forward with Councilmember Nash. And then also we have the Metro Action Commission. Do we have any nominations for the Metro Action Commission?
I nominate Councilmember Gregg.
All right, Councilmember Gregg, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
All right, any other nominations? All those in favor of Councilmember Gregg?
Aye.
All right, anyone opposed? Okay. All right, with that, thank you very much. We're adjourned.
Thank you, Councilman Roberts.